Hi everyone, this is Professor Benjamin and welcome to week 3 of this course. So we finished 2 weeks of the 10-week course and we are moving into week 3. Now I just want to start off the video by trying to maybe pump you up a little or give you a little insight into what's to come. So I know it seems like this is a lot of work in this course, but I have to have you guys understand that we are part of Middle States Accreditation and we need to meet a specific guideline for your classes to count as 3 credit courses. This is considered a non-lab science course. So think about if you took Biology 106 with a lab and the coursework and how much work you had to put into those courses. Well, this is considered a science course, but without the lab. So you're talking about the same amount of work that you had to put into that Bio 106 course or Anatomy and Physiology or Forensics Biology course. It's that same intensity, but this just does not require the lab portion of the course. So this course is counted as a science course, so the work is detailed, and that is why I have to request the amount of words and the responses that I request with the quality that I expect. Here's the thing, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Like anything in our lives, there are portions where it's really intense and then it'll even off. And so you will have a time where this evens off. So for the first couple weeks of this class, it's really intense. And then as we move towards the end of the semester, you only have 1 post due a week. So the first 4 weeks of this course are very intense because it is a 10-week course, and we're trying to cram what we normally would in 15 weeks into 10 weeks. So when you signed up for this course, you actually signed up for the fact that you were taking an accelerated course, which means more work in a shorter period of time. We're not really allowed to cut material out of the course just because it's a 10-week course. So please understand, when you signed up for the condensed version of this course, you signed up for more work in a shorter period of time. But with that being said, you can do it. It's going to take time management. It's going to take preparation. It's going to take not waiting until Tuesday to submit your initial posts. If you can plan out your time, maybe sit down with a calendar and plan it out, I know you can get the work done, because there are students in our class who are getting the work done, who are submitting quality work. So yes, I know it's a lot, but I know you can do it, okay? So as we move forward, so this week we covered ethics, economics, and policy, as well as tragedy of the commons, and a lot of you did a great job. A lot of you submitted really thoughtful responses. A lot of you still aren't meeting the requirements for this class. It's 300 words initial post, 200 words response post. When you're submitting less words, you're just really not as detailed as we need you to be, especially in this science course. So I need you really to start planning now. You can submit work up till Tuesday, so use this weekend to prepare your 2 forum posts that are due by Tuesday. You don't have to wait till the last minute. So this week, so last week we did cap and trade, we did ethics, economics, and policy, we covered tragedy of the commons. Most of you read the tragedy of the commons article, which was great. Then you read cap and trade. A lot of you answered the cap and trade questions correctly. And now we're going to move into consumption and sustainability, which are really, really interesting sessions. So if you look here, so this week coming up, again, we have 2 initial posts. So we have consumption initial post and we have sustainability initial post. So if you look down here, we have consumption, session 4 and session 5 is what we're covering this week. So session 4, here is your initial post due by this Tuesday, response post due by Friday, and you have a quiz on waste, chapter 17 in your textbook. Sustainability, you have an initial post due by Tuesday, response post by Thursday, and there's no quiz attached with sustainability because there's technically not a full chapter in the text that deals with sustainability. Okay? And then next week, looking forward, we have spring break. So that's a wonderful time for you to catch up. The other thing is if you look ahead, that's a great week for you to do session 6 and session 7. You could actually do your work for the next 2 submittals over the spring break if you have time, or do one and then you have one due the following week. So use your week off to the best of your, to use it to your advantage. The other thing is here, look, you have to watch the film Food Incorporated. So over spring break, that's a great way you could spend your time, is by watching the film Food Incorporated. And if you look here at the end of session 6, you see the review for the midterm. This is something else that I really think you need to start working on, is your midterm exam review. So this midterm exam review gives you a really good glimpse at the midterm. It's going to be 15 to 20 questions, at least a paragraph answer for each answer. And really the work for the midterm is beforehand. I don't change any of the questions on the midterm. What's on the midterm review winds up being on the midterm. So if you type out your answers before the midterm and then copy and paste them into the midterm, you'll do fine. So right here is the review for the midterm. I'll be sending out more information over spring break about the midterm, but I really suggest that you start preparing for it over spring break. Okay, so I'm just giving you a look ahead. Now this week we're going to cover consumption and sustainability. Consumption is how much we consume. So there's a wonderful little film here called The Story of Stuff. It talks about, there's a couple, 3 important key terms that Annie Leonard talks about in her film. She talks about perceived obsolescence, planned obsolescence, and externalization of costs. Please take notes on those 3 concepts. The other thing that she talks about is how we can't survive on a linear system in a finite world. And this is actually one of your forum post questions. So the answer is not given flat out in the video, but I want you to think about what a linear system is. It's a line. So there's only an input and an output. The problem with these lines is whatever goes in comes out at the end, and then what comes out at the end never gets put back into the input again. So you just have waste. That's the problem with the linear system. And along that line, a lot of people are taken advantage of, resources are used. There's a lot of problems within that linear system. In a closed loop system, which is an alternative to the linear system, we would take that output, the trash, and actually put it back in the input. So when we manufacture goods, we would think about what would happen when we throw that product away and how we can reuse that product back into a new product again. So almost like a better form of recycling, because even recycling, a lot of times we recycle goods and then what happens is the plastics that we use can only be used once. So they can be melted down and reused again, but when they are reused again, that new item cannot be recycled again. So it only really has one life. So this is what a closed loop system would look like, where we actually think about what's going to happen at the end and how we can deconstruct that product to reuse it again into new things. And so that's why a closed loop system would be better. This article, Does Consumption Buy Happiness? Evidence from the United States, is a wonderful article. It talks about the price that it talks about usually it's about $70,000 to $75,000 once basic needs are met. So they talk about like insurance, food, you're able to cover your rent, you're able to provide for your transportation. Once those needs are covered, so happiness is earned in pay up until about $70,000 to $75,000 a year. After that, there's actually there's no measurable happiness increase after that. What happens is people get comfortable with the 70 to 75,000, and then they want more, and then they want more, and then they want more. But they don't see an actual happiness increase once we move past $70,000 to $75,000 a year. Now, of course, that amount will fluctuate with the economy, depending upon, if housing prices increase, then that number is going to have to increase. But they talk about social connectedness in here, and they talk about leisure and vehicle consumption. And so I want you to think about those things as you're reading the article in order to develop your answer. Peer-to-peer rental is awesome. It's the new sharing economy. I'm part of the sharing economy. I love the sharing economy, from Lyft to Uber to Airbnb. I belong to a bunch of Facebook groups where we actually it's called Buy Nothing groups, where in my town we have a Buy Nothing group, and you just post things that you don't want anymore, and then you can look at what other people post. I have gotten wonderful things for my children, for me, for my home. You'd be shocked at what people give away, furniture, etc. So it's this whole idea of the sharing economy. Also on this website is that if you need something, so for example, hey, I need a chainsaw, but I don't ever really use a chainsaw, but I just need one. I'll post on there, in search of a chainsaw for the weekend. Does anyone have a chainsaw that they're willing to lend me for the weekend? I'm willing to fill it up with gas or provide you with a gift card or something. And people are willing to share. You don't realize it, but people are willing to share. And this is that whole idea that if we could cut down on our consumption. Remember, when you watch the video, The Story of Stuff, she'll talk about that golden arrow, and that's a big deal. So this is a wonderful little chapter here. You'll also talk about the social and environmental implications of our consumption, which is the fact that, we all think that we need all this stuff, but the problem is that it doesn't bring us happiness. The United States is one of the unhappiest countries. I think we're ranked number 26 or 27 when it comes to happiness, gross national happiness. And we're the most medicated society. And when I say medicated, I mean depression, drugs, etc. And a lot of this has to deal with the fact that we are marketed so much that we need to look prettier, have more stuff. There's just all of this that's going on around us, and we don't realize that that's leading us to our unhappiness. So this is a wonderful little session that I think you'll enjoy. Now, sustainability is the next session. If you're around on Monday at the college campus, so Monday, February 27th, from 10:20 to 11:20 in CBI building C228, I'm giving a presentation on fair trade and the chocolate world. So you could come visit me on that. But fair trade is paying people fair wages and providing them with health care and other things. There is a lot of forced labor out there, so human trafficking that happens to produce the goods that we like, such as chocolate, the amount of seafood that we want to see, cheap seafood. We need to actually human traffic to be able to produce that amount of food to support our consumption habits. So fair trade is a wonderful thing, and you'll see the issue with fair trade now is that big companies want to get in on it, and we're not sure if that's really considered fair trade anymore. So there's a lot of questions about fair trade. But there's a lot of companies that do support fair trade. And when I wrap up next week, I'll give you a little bit more look into fair trade. The other thing is sustainability. So this is a big one. Sustainability, my PowerPoint talks about that you need to be economically, socially, and environmentally responsible. You can't have one without the other. So if you're answering the IKEA questions or the Walmart question, you need to make sure that you address if you support or you kind of disagree with the question. You need to explain how the company does not meet the 3 requirements, which is socially, economically, and environmental responsibility, because you have to have all 3 of those things in order to be sustainable. You can't have 2 and not have the 1, because then you're not sustainable. You need to have all 3, and where all 3 of those responsibilities overlap, that's sustainability. Okay, so I will wrap up a little more at the end of the week. I know you can do it. What I really think it's about time management. So if you're able to kind of set yourself out instead of waiting until Tuesday night at 11:59 to make your post, if you make your post over the weekend, you find some time. Remember, a lot of you actually text more than 300 words a week. So this kind of writing and using paragraphs, formal writing, while it seems like it's a task now, I promise you these are skills that I think you will thoroughly, you will be rewarded in the end, because as you move on in your college career, these are the kind of posts that are required, okay? So I look forward to your posts this week, Tuesday, 11:59. Do not forget that you have a quiz due by tomorrow night, 11:59. excuse me, on ethics. So I look forward to your posts this week, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Have a wonderful week. Enjoy this weird stretch of weather. We will be moving into colder weather next week, but I look forward to hearing from you on Tuesday.